Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and we have a few things to talk about in this video. We're putting together like 3-4 topics all in one video. First of all, the next Washington jersey will look like Joe Gibbs 1.0. We're going to dive into what that means and where that source even came from. Also, Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz apparently want to run it back. We got to talk about that. Also, Dan Quinn wins the Fox version of Coach of the Year. We got to talk about why he deserved that award and why he deserves to win the real one from the Associated Press as well. We're going to dive into all of that and more. But before we do, in this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. Make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, stiff on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. I told y'all I'm not playing with y'all. 2-3 videos a day, maybe even more than that some days. I have so many video topics, and then on top of that, there's always some type of breaking news. So make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. Definitely make sure you have that bell clicked in, and make sure you always come back and check on this channel every like 8 hours or so, because it's bound to be another video uploaded by then. I am not playing. I have so many things to talk about. I can't wait to get all of this content to you, all of these ideas that I have. I'm super excited. We're gonna start doing film sessions for this draft class, mock drafts, free agency wish list. I can't wait to get into all of that. But instead of wasting more of y'all time, let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so let's start with the whole jersey thing. We're not going to do like a super deep dive into this. Because I already did like a whole dive into what I was hearing around the jerseys and things like that. But now we're hearing an update from Grant Paulson from his podcast. Apparently, there's a belief that the new Commanders uniform, that changes that are expected by next season, just to emphasize that, they're saying next season. It's been a work in progress for months apparently. So we're probably going to see these as soon as this 2025 upcoming season. After we kill it in free agency, Jaden Daniels running it back, part 2 after the historical rookie season. We may even have an additional jersey, it sounds like. So at first it sounded like it was going to be tweaks to the jerseys, but now Grant Paulson is saying that there's an entirely new uniform expected from the way that it's worded. Or maybe they're going to take the jerseys that we currently have and tweak it in a way that it will resemble the older jerseys. Again, referring to the Joe Gibbs 1.0 era when we were winning Super Bowls and things like that. Apparently, Josh Harris and the organization are reported to be leading an effort to have the jerseys resemble the Joe Gibbs 1.0 era. So this is definitely like a definitive, deliberate move right here. Like, this is on purpose. They're trying to show love to the previous winning culture that we had here before they set up this winning culture here. Can't wait for some more Super Bowls. But again, Grant Paulson talked about it on his show with Grand Danny on 106.7 The Fan, and they talked about how they've been hearing for months about a uniform change and that we could see new uniforms by as soon as this next season. So be on the lookout for that. Now, my only question is, are we talking about the more common Doug Williams jerseys that you're seeing on the screen right now? Because that's pretty cool too, and I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all would love that. But me personally, if I had to choose, I would prefer these Darryl Green jerseys right here. But that's just me. If they're gonna go back, do it like a blast from the past, I'm leaning more so towards these. Even though if they can't even do the arrow or the official Redskins logo, if it's just more of like a jersey design similarity there, then I'm cool with that as well. I love the shades of burgundy and gold in this jersey alone, even more than the ones that we currently have right now. Now, I hope that means we don't just get rid of the black jersey that we currently have. We'll see what happens, but hey, man, we only wore it like twice last year anyway, and I think we're undefeated in the black jerseys right now. I think we should wear them more often, to be honest. But if they truly are bringing in a new jersey or tweaking the ones that we already have and making it look more like Joe Gibbs 1.0, I would prefer these Darryl Green jerseys over the Doug Williams jerseys I just showed y'all. We had John Riggins and all of the greats in. I mean, I love the jerseys. I love the attachment to the jerseys. But me personally, aesthetically, I prefer these Darryl Green ones right here. Now, moving on to the next topic. Hey, man, shouts out to Dan Quinn, because NFL on Fox podcast, their official Twitter account, tweeted out just earlier today, January 31st at 3:20 p.m. Year 2024 Coach of the Year is Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, as voted on by NFL on Fox fans. Even though by the time a lot of y'all see this, it's more than likely going to be like technically tomorrow, February 1st. But either way, the point is Dan Quinn won Coach of the Year by Fox, shouts out to them too, and Fox NFL even had like a whole video clip to go with the award explaining why they felt like Dan Quinn deserved it over all other coaches. I mean, Kevin O'Connell had a good bid there. You had Sean Payton over there with the Broncos. You had a lot of interesting guys. Dan Campbell, I mean, with what he did with the Lions this year and things like that, even though we ruined their dreams, I feel like us beating the Lions probably played a large role as to why Dan Quinn ended up winning this award. But I also feel like going from 4 wins to NFC Championship, that alone Dan Quinn should automatically win it from just off of that period. Like, I don't feel like we even need to discuss more than that. From 4-13 to 14-6, there's nothing else to talk about. Absolutely nothing else to talk about there. That's the mic drop right there. But shouts out to Jonathan Eag, I hope that's how you pronounce his name, Eag, from Rigo's Rag, because he did an entire article saying that he graded Dan Quinn's performance in year 1 as the Commanders head coach. He said Dan Quinn did a remarkable job in year 1. Diving into the article and skipping around, he said Dan Quinn relied on culture building and trust to turn the Commanders around. He said one thing stood out more than anything in 2024. Every time a player speaks about the team, he references brotherhood, respect, and love. Most of the time, they cite Quinn as the primary reason for the camaraderie for the team. For the better part of the past decade, Washington's previous ownership tried to sell the public a fantasy story about improved culture. Remember Bruce Allen, the coach is damn good. The word itself became a joke. Quinn demonstrated what true culture change actually means and looks like. Quinn brought in a lot of players he had coached before. He got bedrock starters like Tyler Biadasz and Dorrance Armstrong from the Cowboys, as well as key contributors like Dante Fowler, Noah Brown, and Noah Igbenogany, who he's all coached before, that already know the type of culture that he wanted to implement for the Commanders. Olamide Zaccheaus played for Quinn in Atlanta as well, don't forget that. He knew Bobby Wagner from his days as the Seattle Seahawks defensive coordinator when they were winning Super Bowls, and those were all high character players who knew what the coach expected immediately coming in. The rest, the ones experiencing Quinn for the first time, uniformly praise the fact that he genuinely cares about his players. They feel it, and it makes the buy-in all the better. Quinn allowed the players a lot of say in determining the team's culture. He had them draw up lists of concerns and merge the ideas into a unifying statement of purpose that stressed accountability and respect. That's amazing. Salute to Dan Quinn for that. That showed on the field, and that's a big point right there. That culture that we built off the field produced results on the field for us as well. Continuing with the article, Jaden Daniels has gotten justified praise for how even-keeled he has remained in the roller coaster ride of a typical NFL season. Quinn deserves the same credit. I would agree. The team played well at times. They played poorly at times as well. Washington was overmatched from a talent standpoint against some opponents. I would argue most opponents. But they never got too high or too low. They always rebounded from adversity. That's key. Quinn recognized what he had in Daniels and trusted the signal caller to convert 4th downs. That red confidence got the players excited. It is the same thing Dan Campbell achieved with the Detroit Lions. Even when things were going poorly, troubled words never filtered out to the public. Just take veteran defensive tackle Jonathan Allen as one small example. The team leader seemed so worn down by years of dysfunction that he was lashing out late in 2023. And then an injury almost ended his season in 2024, but Allen fought hard to return and played a sensational game in the playoffs against the Lions. It is hard to imagine that happening pre-Quinn. I mean, think about it. John Allen was literally like, man, just trade me at the end of the 2023 season. And then he sees we're getting ready for the playoffs while he's out with an injury. He's like, no, I got to do whatever I got to do to get back, because this team actually has some hope and maybe we can really make some true noise. So he worked his tail off to get back. He probably would have taken it easier. If this were not this same Commanders as 2024, that season probably would have been like completely season ending for him. Like, he wouldn't have even tried to return. He would have been like, yeah, I'll catch y'all next year type of thing. Best of all, Quinn assembled a great staff. I feel like that's the best part of what Dan Quinn did. Shouts out to Rico's Rag again for this, because he brings up great points. He showed very little ego or insecurity. His staff includes 2 men who had been head coaches and several others who had been coordinators at different places. Quinn built an outstanding support staff around his prize rookie quarterback with offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, quarterbacks coach Tavita Pritchard, and assistant quarterbacks coach David Blau, and passing game coordinator Brian Johnson, all playing a part in his development. And you've already seen from the past few videos I've done that all of those guys that I just named to you are getting interviews for promotions with other teams right now. Even Ben Johnson tried to steal David Blau from us for a little second. Luckily, though, he ended up hiring somebody else from the job. But all of those names I just mentioned, Cliff Kingsbury, Tavita Pritchard, David Blau, and Brian Johnson, all mattered. Continuing with the article, his 2 primary coordinators, Kingsbury and Joe Wood Jr., are now firmly in the head coaching picture future somewhere down the line. Quinn may not be the best X's and O's coach in the league, but he surrounds himself with very smart lieutenants. I love that. He may not always make the right decision, such as failing to ride the momentum and go for a 2-point conversion at the end of the first Cowboys game, but more often than not, he is rewarded. His bold call on a fake punt against the Eagles temporarily kept the Commanders alive in the conference championship. Then he finalized his article with grade. The Eagles' talent eventually overwhelmed Washington in that game, and I feel like that was just purely talent. Not even coaching. I feel like that's just purely talent. But Quinn got the most out of a team in transition. He gets a solid A for the season, and he is set up to do even better in the coming years. Now, my only thing is, let's see if he actually ends up winning the real Coach of the Year award that's actually presented by the AP, the Associated Press. He better win that one. That's all I know. And as of right now, according to DraftKings, Dan Quinn has the highest odds to win it, plus 180, with Kevin O'Connell second with plus 500. Andy Reid, he's in the Super Bowl. Why not? Plus 500 as well. Jim Harbaugh at plus 600. Dan Campbell at plus 600. Then you have Mike Tomlin. Then you have Sean Payton. Then you have Jonathan Gannon. Then you have Matt LaFleur. And then you have Sean McVay. Listen to all of those former burgundy and gold coaches right there. Redskin coaches from the Jay Gruden era, man. Kevin O'Connell. You have Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay. Golly, all of those guys that used to coach here almost at the same time, too. Like missing each other by maybe like a year. Insane stuff. But either way, Dan Quinn right now is leading the odds for the official Coach of the Year award that's recognized by the actual NFL. That's the one that really matters, that everybody talks about. I mean, just to revisit the previous winners, you had Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns last year. You had Brian Daboll the year before that, Mike Vrabel before that, Kevin Stefanski again, then John Harbaugh, then Matt Nagy, Sean McVay, Jason Garrett, wow, Ron Rivera, wow, Bruce Arians, Ron Rivera again, wow, Bruce Arians again, and then Jim Harbaugh. Hey, shouts out to the Harbaugh brothers both winning Coach of the Year awards in like a 10, 11 year span. That's amazing in itself. But speaking of odds, y'all already know, man. This show is provided by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. If you're looking for a new sportsbook, it should be BetUS for sure. First of all, they have the fastest payouts in the industry, and I know y'all want y'all money fast because I know I do. And right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next two deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150. And they have a fast and easy deposit and withdrawal process, so it's really like, why not? Now let's take a look at some bets that we can get into directly through their website. And I'm getting a little creative with this one right here, because if you're looking on the screen right now, we have this upcoming Super Bowl next week's highest scoring quarter. If you believe that the third quarter is going to be the quarter where both teams combined score the most points out of any quarter in the game, that's plus 400 odds. Now, according to BetUS, they feel like the fourth quarter is going to more than likely be the quarter that has the most points, with second quarter right behind it at plus 185 odds. They feel like the first quarter is going to be the least scoring one, but hey man, that third quarter is probably some good money right there at plus 400 odds. And if you put down $100 on those plus 400 odds, and the third quarter of the Super Bowl actually ends up being the highest scoring quarter between both teams, you can end up winning $400 by the end of that game. Now, of course, I'm gonna keep screaming at y'all always, every time. Please make sure y'all gamble responsibly if y'all don't do nothing else. And again, right now, BetUS is offering you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit and a 125% sign-up bonus on your next two deposits for up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. That's YOUTUBE150. Now let's get to the second half of this video. Well, it looks like Bobby Wagner is not retiring via a post on his Instagram with the caption 13 seasons and the story's not done. Let's get it. Sounds like Bobby Wagner wants to come back to the Commanders, and now I feel like it's a great time to break down why the Commanders should definitely bring him back. Now, I'm not saying bringing Bobby Wagner back and then you already have Frankie Louisville and that's it for the linebacker position. Don't just address it at all in the offseason. I would still target some guys in free agency, and at the very least the draft, even though I do believe 5th round 2024 draft pick Jordan McGee, who was hurt a lot this season, has a lot of talent to him. I think he's that freak athlete that we're looking for, that has that sideline to sideline speed to stop a lot of that running to the outside that we allowed this past season. I feel like defensive line help can help with that a lot, but I also feel like being far more athletic in the linebacker group can help a lot there as well. I love Frankie Louisville. He's a dog, and then Bobby Wagner's Bobby Wagner, but Jordan McGee is the most athletic of the three. I feel like that could be big time if we could develop that, if he could stay healthy enough along for us to develop that. But either way, We still need Bobby Wagner back. Shouts out to Adam Schultz of Athlon Sports because he wrote an article saying Bobby Wagner ranks as the #1 free agent decision for the Washington Commanders to bring back. Washington Commanders linebacker is a free agent, but will the franchise even consider bringing him back? And he brought up some great points. He said last offseason, the Washington Commanders signed a host of free agents as general manager Adam Peters and head coach Dan Quinn went about building their team. But most were on one-year contracts, like linebacker Bobby Wagner. Now, the time has come to pay the piper as such, with 37 players who were on one-year contracts last year, now looking at free agency. We have a lot of guys we got to resign. I kept telling y'all all throughout the season, since months ago, yeah, we have the third most cap space in the NFL, but we have a lot of guys who were strong contributors on this team, even starters, that are technically not included in that third most cap space. So you gotta go ahead and account for some of that when you're thinking about all of the cap space we have available to go sign guys that are from other teams. So keep that in mind. With the defense showing good improvement under Joe Wood Jr., the question now is who should return. And for ESPN, Wagner is one franchise building player that Washington has to keep. ESPN wrote, Wagner signed a one-year deal to join Washington last offseason, but there were questions about what he had left entering his 13th season, with good reason. It turns out he had quite a bit. Wagner recorded his 13th consecutive 100-plus tackle season and earned second-team All-Pro honors the 11th time he's been either first or second team in his career. Insane. In addition, his leadership set a major tone in the locker room and will be hard for the Commanders to replace, unquote, from ESPN, and I completely agree. And to finish up this article, I'm not going to read the entire part of it, but they said Wagner had a superb season, leading the Commanders in total tackles with 132. That's a great point. Third in tackles for loss with 10, and then fifth in quarterback hits with 8. And also, he still found a way to get 3 sacks. And on top of that, he was the third highest graded linebacker out of the entire NFL from Pro Football Focus with an 89.9 overall grade and had 26 pressures to go with it as well. You need to bring back Bobby Wagner. Again, that doesn't mean that the linebacker position is finished this offseason, but you got to bring him back. He needs to be a part of the solution. He may not necessarily be the solo solution, the single-handed solution, but he is a part of the solution. Also, apparently, Zach Ertz wants to run him back as well. Shouts out to NFL.com for reporting on that, because with his exit interview, he said he's not retiring, and he's hoping to return with the Commanders next season. Zach Ertz's 2024 season ended in familiar confines of Philadelphia's Lincoln Financial Field. That is an interesting point right there. That's kind of like a bookend end right there. He made it clear Monday that his career won't conclude there, though. Ertz intends to play in 2025, and he's hoping that it will be with the Washington Commanders. But his future roster isn't quite as certain as his intent to play is. That's a decent point. I feel like if it's between Wagner and Ertz, who were more than likely going to resign, it's probably leaning more Bobby Wagner, but I feel like Zach Ertz is a priority as well. I'm going to explain why soon, but continuing with this article from NFL.com, Zach Ertz even straight up said, quote, I don't know what the future holds. I still definitely want to play football next year. I just want to make that clear that I'm not retiring, unquote. Continuing with the article, the 34-year-old tight end did say that he made it clear that his season with Washington made him fall in love all over again with the game of football. He really emphasized that. Going into the 2024 free agency, around this time last year, he was pondering, am I done? Am I washed? Should I stop football? I'm not even really enjoying it as much. This past season that we just had made him want to run it back. He is loving football right now. And of course, the main reason that he fell in love with football again is because of the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, and this offense right now. Shouts out Cliff Kingsbury. Continuing with the article, he said, thus, he was a perfect fit with Washington head coach Dan Quinn and defensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, and they with him. So he's excited to return to the field for a lucky year 13. He said, quote, just because I had so much fun this year, I feel rejuvenated. I feel young. It's the most amount of games I've played in the season at 34. That's crazy. I felt like I played good football this year. So for me, it's just figuring out everything going forward. They know how I feel about this place, unquote. And I'm glad he's made it known. Hey, please bring me back. I want to be a part of this. And continuing with the article, indeed, Ertz played his first 17-game season in 2024 of his NFL career. That's crazy when you think about it. It came after playing a combined 17 games from 2022 through the 2023 season, both with the Arizona Cardinals. Following 8+ seasons and 3 Pro Bowls with the Eagles to begin his career, Ertz was traded to the Cardinals Cardinals. It was with Arizona that he got to know the team's then head coach, Cliff Kingsbury, now his offensive coordinator here. So you can tell it wasn't Zach Ertz and Cliff Kingsbury's fault. It was a lot of other stuff going on with the Cardinals why that didn't work out. Ertz reunited with Kingsbury in Washington, signing a 1-year deal. Along with the dynamic rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels, an outstanding and productive union was had. Ertz had 66 receptions for 654 yards and 7 touchdowns. So why not run it back? Well, the Commanders will have a say in that. Ertz said, quote, obviously it's a two-way street. I can bang down the door saying I want to be here, but if they don't want me here, then it's a moot point, unquote. And that's a good point, but I really feel like they should bring him back, man. I mean, not only is it a great move for him to come back, but I feel like it's a great move for us to bring him back. First of all, his most recent game, the NFC Championship against the Eagles, he had season highs in targets, receptions, and yards with 16 targets, 11 receptions. I mean, like that's the most by at least 4 of any game other than any other game this past season, regular season, postseason, whatever, and he had 104 yards. His next highest yard total in a game was 77 against the Chicago Bears. So if you ask me, it still looks like he has something left in the tank and was really just getting warmed up by how those last few games went. I mean, outside of the playoffs, like if you're looking at the end of the regular season, he had 72 against the Falcons, he had 44 against the Dallas Cowboys, and then he only managed like a little over 20 yards each against the Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then he exploded for 104 yards against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm telling y'all, he's just getting warmed up, man. I still feel like we need a mismatch nightmare to pair with him, like an athletic freak to go alongside him. We can run a lot of 12 personnel with that situation. Maybe give Kyle Pitts a chance for cheap because he's really athletic, and I feel like if anybody can fix him, it's Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels as his quarterback, and /or too. Like I still would go and find one of those dynamic tight ends in the draft as well. This is a super deep tight end class. It's kind of, you'd be remiss to not at least go and get one of those guys, no matter what you do in free agency at the tight end position. But I think Zach Ertz being Jayden Daniels' safety blanket is very underrated, and one of the main reasons that Jayden Daniels has so much success this season. I feel like a lot of people are overlooking that. I still need a difference maker in that room. Even after you bring back Zach Ertz, we still need an additional difference maker in that room. But I would love to make sure we at least have the safety blanket to make things easier for Jayden Daniels moving forward. He's keeping his offensive coordinator. Let him keep his safety blanket as well. That's literally what we signed Zach Ertz to be, and I feel like we could expect more greatness from Jayden Daniels and for him to get even better with all of that familiarity from the previous season transitioning into the next season. And then also, before we get up out of here, in really random news, the Jets have hired Chris Harris as their pass game coordinator and defensive backs coach. Per source, Harris spent the past 2 seasons in a similar role with the Titans. He also interviewed for the Jets defensive coordinator position, but I guess he didn't end up getting that. But remember, Chris Harris was the guy that was like one of the most vocal coaches we had, and a lot of us wanted us to promote him to defensive coordinator to go ahead and fire Jack Del Rio, go ahead and promote Chris Harris before he leaves and goes and takes his talents and genius somewhere else and his passion. I feel like he would be a great culture fit for this organization right now. Under Dan Quinn, Joey Jr., the fire that they bring, Chris Harris would fit in perfectly. But shouts out to him because he's doing bigger and better things elsewhere, so I'm not mad at him at all. But he was like literally our vocal leader of like training camp practices and things like that. I know y'all remember him. Man, I love Chris Harris. I wish we could have held on to him as long as possible, man. But hey, man, shouts out to him for getting that job with the Jets, and also shouts out to Aaron Glenn for leaving to being the defensive coordinator for the Lions, going to be the head coach of the Jets, and he's putting together a really good staff right now. I don't necessarily think it's comparable to the staff that we put together in 2024. I told y'all we signed an all-star cast before the 2024 season even started, before we even played a single game. Then we make it all the way to the NFC Championship, and it looks like I was right, even though I didn't expect us to be that great that quickly. But I still feel like the Jets deserve a salute. They're putting together a great staff. Is it the 2024 Commanders offseason worth of staff hirings? I wouldn't necessarily say that. You bring in a former head coach and Anthony Lynn to be your run game coordinator, your running backs coach. You bring in Ken Norton Jr. You're bringing in so many Cliff Kingsbury. David Blough's looked at like the next Sean McVay, Ben Johnson genius as your assistant quarterbacks coach. I don't really think anybody else can outpace that on paper, but the Jets are doing a really good job. Big salute to them. I know there was a lot of dysfunction there. I know a lot of players like Garrett Wilson apparently went out of there, but I feel like the Jets are headed in the right direction. And just to let you know, I think the Jets have the longest streak right now in Northern American sports of not making the playoffs right now. That's actually really crazy. I remember seeing that stat and mentioning that in one of my previous videos. That's crazy. So, hey, man, Aaron Glenn, you have your job cut out for you. But, hey, man, hiring Chris Harris as your defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator on the defensive side, that's a huge step in the right direction. And us as Commanders fans, hey, salute to you, Chris Harris. I love to see you doing bigger and better things. We definitely miss you over here, man. I like Tim Donatello over here, but I would definitely prefer to have Chris Harris. I ain't gonna lie. But shouts out to Tim Donatello too, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Let me know how you feel about the whole jersey situation that we talked about to start the video. Let me know how you feel about Dan Quinn winning the Fox Coach of the Year. Do you feel like he deserves to win the AP Coach of the Year, the real Coach of the Year award? Also, let me know how you feel about Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz wanting to come back to the Commanders. Do you feel like we should bring them back for at least another year? And then also, let me know how you feel about Chris Harris moving to the Jets and the all-star staff that they're putting together. Do you think it compares to the 2024 coaching staff that we put together last offseason? Let me know how you feel about all of that and more. And of course, remember that this video is sponsored by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. And please make sure, if you don't do nothing else, please make sure you gamble responsibly. Again, do not leave this video without leaving a like. I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.